Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real World Blockchain Podcast, where everyone can learn how businesses can thrive thanks to the blockchain industry and other associated technologies. I am Gauthier Lamotte, your host, and today I am blessed to have my two partners in crime, Niles and Rebecca. Hi, guys, how are you?
Oh, wicked fine.
So, we're having a little thought here for Zoe, our number four. She's not here today because, well, she is at the United Nations. Well, more on that next week. She'll have the
I'm a
privilege to
little
tell what
jealous.
this is
Yeah,
about, but that's awesome.
that's pretty
That's
amazing.
so cool.
All
The
right.
team's always off to doing cool stuff.
She's always doing the cool stuff. That's great. Zoe, if you can hear us, we're rooting for you. You go there. So, first news of the week. Do you guys know about Exodus?
Yeah, the Exodus wallet, they're
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, I've used them myself, and I know that you could buy shares of their company on Algorand. Um, Something else is happening, right?
Yeah. So I personally felt super excited when I saw that news coming, in my mailbox the other day because I personally love Exodus. There are many times when we speak about products and we speak about products that I didn't test myself, but this one I'm super excited about it because I'm a regular user of Exodus. I love the way their UI is done. I used to say that, I'm used to saying if your grandmother cannot use it, then it's not mature enough in terms of UI. And Exodus is exactly that. You can see everything neatly, what's the proportion of everything in your portfolio. You can do payments. There's hardly any confusion. So it's good because you cannot really confuse a receiving address with another receiving address. There are many
Right.
fail safes in order to avoid sending stuff in the wrong direction. There are many good UI hints and nudges in order to make sure your assets are safe and that you're autonomous, even though you're not super knowledgeable in the world of crypto. So I thought to myself, damn, that's exactly what we should give to all the users, the aspiring users of cryptocurrencies who do not really want to be super technical. That's great. So I love what they're doing. We don't have any
Yeah,
shares in
and you know
Exodus
what?
here,
Like
but
they are the chosen user interface for the Trezor hardware wallet.
yeah,
Mm,
Right? Is that like Trezor goes and has their own, but they've also tapped Exodus to go
mm,
and be a gateway into what they're doing. And that tells me that they're doing something right. And now, what? They're getting listed on the New York Stock Exchange.
yes,
yes.
this is exactly the news I wanted to talk about. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't need to like pull your thunder, but
No,
man,
no worries.
that's so
That's the
exciting.
news. The news is important, not who says it. So yes, Exodus is to that's their claim, but I think I checked and I didn't find any contradictory information. They say they are the only U.S. company that will have their common stock tokenized on the blockchain, and so they are listed on a stock exchange. And
Right,
I
they're on
love
now.
that these guys. They also have a huge employment policy. I didn't have time to go there, but I saw an employment offer saying, "Oh, we pay you in Bitcoin and we offer fiscal advice so that you can be in line with
Mm.
your geographic location." And I
Oh,
saw so
That's so
many
cool.
benevolence also in their hiring policy that I thought to myself, "Okay, good. Like
Uh,
the company is
Gautier, if you're
appealing."
not here next week, I'll be disappointed.
yeah. Yeah, honestly, so excited. They are the first. I read the same thing online. The first in the US to tokenize their common stock on the blockchain, which is so crazy exciting. And when I first read it, it actually reminded me of Overstock, who had done something
Hmm.
similar, but
Mm.
Niles explained to me how it actually is quite different, which was really interesting. So the first, let's see who's next. Maybe we should take some bets on who's the next one.
And so we're recording this episode on the 10th of May, and that was just yesterday. Yesterday, the EXOD Exodus stock started trading on the New York Stock Exchange American market. So that's great. That means the SEC has qualified it as a real asset. That's really a good stamp of approval. It's funny to see that 5 or 6 years ago, many people working in this field, and so working tightly with the SEC or with other agencies, used to say, "Oh, cryptocurrencies are just a fad, that bit of a scam." And now, basically, what we can see is that
Mhm.
we're having cryptocurrencies listed, cryptocurrency companies listed on the stock exchange market. So that's a pretty,
It's bullish.
yeah, yeah,
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
because like it's really the infrastructure that people
Yes.
are now interested in even like talking about much more than the actual tokens,
yeah,
which I think is like very important because wallets, blockchains, whatever is like the underlying power that we are really interested in more than something like a dog with a hat on his head.
yeah.
Like,
That's a super satisfying news. And the listing on the blockchain at the same time is good news for Algorand.
Yes.
And that's also good
yeah.
news
Oh
because
man, yeah, I got to
yeah.
shout out to my boys in Boston. Yeah, so Algorand's, yeah, they came out like with like from MIT, and yeah, you know, I'm here in Boston, and yeah, anytime, gotta pump them.
Yeah, Algorand
Not
is
financial
definitely a heavy
advice.
hitter also in this market, and that means also global governance and corporate governance on the blockchain. So the future is there now, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's super satisfying, and I'm personally very moved, very. I'm in a state of bliss just because this is Exodus. I have a sweet spot for this company. So moving on to the next company we're talking about today, but dear listeners,
I like, yeah, you wouldn't be able to shut me up.
yeah, I hope you guys will share our joy. Moving on to the next company, another very important name, but not in the field of cryptocurrencies necessarily, and just in the real world, there are many companies that don't only do blockchain things and that also do traditional finance. So now these
Wait,
the TradFi and the
why would you want to do
DeFi
that?
are mixed, and now basically the real world is the blockchain. But another proof that this is happening is that do you guys know about Revolut? Yeah.
I recently found out about it.
So
Yeah,
Revolut
I
is
mean, like to
very
me,
well
like they
known.
are the PayPal of Europe.
Yeah, there's the PayPal of Europe, and then they also have bank accounts, and that's super
Right.
practical. In my home country, France, this is very useful because you have all those Revolut accounts that are very usable for people who are usually not deemed trustworthy by the traditional banking system. So they have a right to have a bank account, but the traditional banks do not want to insure them, and so Revolut basically offers them the bare minimal bank account and all the features coming with it, and that allows many unbanked people to come back to a socialized life and to
That's
real
awesome.
transactions. So this also has a social utility, and so well. Revolut X is a fintech firm, and
Yep.
they venture into crypto now, and they are now venturing into the crypto exchange arena. So the platform, accessible on desktops for UK customers, now includes Bitcoin and Ethereum and also XRP. So that's quite interesting, I
Yeah,
think.
Yeah.
that's exciting.
That's
I
quite
mean,
disappointing as well for other people who are not based in the UK, but we can imagine
yeah.
this will follow in other countries, of course. So, Rebecca, you said you just recently heard about Revolut.
But I'll say like tools like this are so important and they can have such a big impact on a society, right? To give access to financial tools like this to the unbanked can have such a big impact. So it's awesome to see them doing well and then coming into the crypto space. I love it. Let's see more of it, more and more.
And the good thing is that the Revolut account is now compatible with MetaMask. So they didn't try to make their own dumb, poorly designed
Yeah.
TradFi company crypto wallet. They just used an integration.
Hey, it's tried and
And
true.
yeah, they had a partnership with a great heavy hitter. So that's
Yeah.
also something that bodes well for this
Yeah.
this whole industry, and we'll see how it happens in the whole European Union. And that's going to be interesting to see the differences between Revolut and PayPal, for example, because Revolut
Yeah.
will be definitely more Mika influenced than PayPal So we'll see.
Yeah, and like also like I'm interested to see like if Revolut does get a hand in stablecoins, right? Where PayPal just released their PYUSD, and like will Revolut and other companies that have this avenue start choosing to do this? Because we saw that like Tether over $5 billion in revenue. That's mind-boggling. Like, I would love 1% of that, you know? Like, and what you're doing is really just managing like assets on the back end. Like, who doesn't want to do that?
That indeed sounds entertaining to do, and that sounds appealing in terms of financial returns. And to answer your question, your interrogation, well, they are technically to go in your in the same direction. They are already technically doing it at Revolut because they are supporting XRP, and XRP has now its own stablecoin system as well. So. That should be interesting to see if there are. That will be interesting to see if there are other stable coins in the long run, but they already technically have one. So,
right
again, this bodes well for stable coins, and that's interesting. You gave me the perfect transition because we're going to talk about XRP again. As you guys know, Ripple's proposed stablecoin is a bit taking fire. It's needing a bit of assistance from its supporters at the moment because the SEC is labeling Ripple's proposed stablecoin as, and I quote, an unregistered crypto asset, which...
Sorry, like, what does that mean?
Yes, this raises many questions, and every person working in this industry will think, what the hell does that mean?
Yes.
Because
let's phone in a friend. Let's phone in a friend to help us decipher.
So this happened on May 7, and indeed, so indeed, why would a stablecoin be an unregistered crypto asset? Because its value cannot go up or down. Is that what you thought, Niles, when you said, what does that mean?
Yeah, we were like talking about the Howey test, which actually originated from the sales of an Orange Grove, right? Where somebody decided Howey like was selling investments in his farm. And then that is what came out of this decision, that when you go and have an investment of money in a common enterprise with expectations of profit, and other people are making that money, that is a security. So, orange groves themselves, oranges are not securities. But if you go and have somebody else growing them, maybe it is. And if there's no expectation of profit from a stablecoin, which by definition is going to be one-to-one, how does that like fail the Howey test?
So here's the take on this question from the SEC's lawyer. So basically, the idea is that Ripple is planning to issue a stable coin in the near future, but because the company has not provided any additional details about the token since the initial announcement, and because this is not yet functional, that means that basically the company can already earn money by selling those stable coins and gaining investment, and by basically gaining more notoriety and selling other tokens associated
so
with
like
it.
they didn't announce this and they issued it, would then that not be a security?
But companies make announcements all the time.
Right.
They make announcements
Absolutely.
about products that they're building. They make announcements about, and they leverage words like AI and Web3 to kind of drive traffic and drive interest. So that's a very common practice in every space, Web3 or the normal space. So even if they did announce and they weren't ready to list it, and if it did cost them to gain interest in investment, I still don't see an issue with that, because it really is a very normal thing to do, to kind of announce the things you're working on, to get like just people talking about it and creating kind of a little bit of marketing buzz around it. So seems like the SEC is just still very confused, or
Sure.
Okay,
maybe
so
there's something else. I
Because
don't
you
know.
know
Maybe.
what? Like, honestly, if you're going to go and say that Bitcoin, ETH, stablecoins are securities, fine.
yeah,
Say that they're securities.
they're not pegged
What
to,
we
to
are
another
fighting
value.
for, and like by we, I mean like the entire industry, is looking for regulation and actual insights into this,
Yeah. Clarity.
so that we can actually comply what is going on. Like, we will play by the rules. Give us the rules.
Mm.
Yeah, I concur. I do concur in this direction, and Stuart Alderotti, the chief legal officer of Ripple, has basically said, and here I'm quoting. Allow me to read that. Just when you think the SEC can't sink any lower, if you are a financial regulator outside the US and have done the hard work of establishing comprehensive crypto licensing frameworks, know that the SEC has no respect for you and thinks you are handing out the equivalent of fishing licenses. Because the lawyer also said that,
Right.
made a comparison between fishing licenses,
Exactly.
licenses and alcohol.
Yeah, I believe it. Like, the
beverage.
just was it is like if you had a restaurant and you're trying to get a liquor license, that doesn't compare to going and having a fishing license in another state. And I don't even think that like that analogy was apt, to be
So,
honest.
The SEC is seeking a penalty up to $2 billion in fines from Ripple, but of course Ripple doesn't intend to just stay idly and stand by and watch their money go away. So they basically contend that the court should reject this demand and propose a civil penalty not exceeding $10 million, which would be a symbolic slap on the wrist. Many slaps on many symbolic wrists these days.
Oh
Many
my God.
lawsuits. And so
Really, it's crazy.
this week we're not having one legal case, one lawsuit, but two instead. Dear listeners, sorry for that, but we had to talk about two things because that was a very rich week and we had so many things to talk about. So SEC now is also issuing Robinhood crypto with a Wells notice. So now, can you please enlighten us and tell us what this is about?
That is actually a great question, because Robinhood, for a long time, years now, has been facilitating an exchange for crypto assets. And what they are doing different versus other exchanges that we know and love, such as Coinbase or Kraken, or honestly, even like Binance. Like, why is what they're doing different and wrong? And like, that's something like I have a question myself, and I don't know, because like right now it's not that they're marketing, oh, Bitcoin is going to go and make you a bunch of money. All they're doing is a transaction, right? Is that they're allowing people to go and have access to these markets. So why the SEC has chosen Robinhood versus Coinbase, Kraken, Binance, or anybody else, like I don't know.
I think what's really interesting about this, and what kind of catches my attention, is that Robinhood has said that the crypto assets that it offers are securities. So they are labeling them as securities. So it kind of creates this weird scenario where the SEC is just confused. What is the one? Like you touched on earlier, if they just provide some really clear guidelines, and perhaps we can follow them better. But in one case, they're going after them because they're now labeling them correctly. If you do label them as securities, then what's the problem? And what else is there for for them to kind of go after. And what's even crazy is the SEC has the power to kill a business. If the SEC wants to, if they pursue this to the full power, they could kill a business. I had the unfortunate situation to work for a publicly traded company many years ago in the crypto space that was shut down by the SEC. They came back, they fought against the SEC and they won. They're one of less than 5 companies ever to win, right? So that says a lot about what was going on there. But it ultimately killed the business and they had to completely restructure what they were doing. And every time the SEC kind of takes an action like this, it puts businesses and people's like livelihood at risk. And I think there's that aspect of it that we miss, right? We focus a lot on like, what does it mean for the space, which is obviously super important, but all of this could have a really huge impact on the business itself. So then becomes a very expensive conversation between the business and the SEC to try to get to the bottom of it, right? To get to a decision. So I hope that Robinhood is able to kind of come out of it well, but it's a tricky thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the funniest thing is that like Gary Gensler understands this. Like he taught classes on this at university. And like why he's choosing to go and start pursuing these Wells notices for like Robinhood, going after Ripple, even right now with like Coinbase, it boggles the mind. Because like somebody who does understand this stuff should know better.
Absolutely. And they're not the only ones to have received a Wells notice.
Right.
So for our listeners, Wells notice means basically you receive a phone call or a mail by the
you're pretty much getting served
by the IRS or by the SEC, but usually by the SEC in this business, telling you, okay, we are now using law enforcement leverage against you, and we are now not only we're not only inspecting what you are doing, but we are also now going to use legal means to subdue you, which is crazy because most of these heavy hitters, these actors, were totally okay to be compliant, perhaps not fast enough in the mind of the SEC execs, not the execs, but the officials, but at least they were trying to be compliant. And we can cite other examples, such as, for example, Uniswap, which is a monumental, emblematic example of a huge company in the field of cryptocurrency and currencies. And the founder, Hayden Adams, Uniswap founders, also said that, he said that it was clear that the SEC was clueless and not really willing to create clear, informed rules, just to attack long-time good actors like Uniswap. And that also happened to Consensus, which is a
they're behind MetaMask.
Consensus, everyone knows Consensus. That's huge. And they later moved to sue the SEC, saying that regulating ETH as either security would basically kill the whole business in the US. So that maybe that's just because the regulator is completely clueless.
Mm-hmm. And it's just like this can have like real big impact on the trust of users. This could potentially affect Robinhood's operations and reputation and potentially like kill their entire business. A business that's used by over 10 million people. I don't know. Every time we have an SEC news, I'm just like, man.
That's complicated.
It's a real bummer.
I personally witnessed many projects that were very interesting, very promising in terms of financial returns, low upward risk and little downside risk, and high upside and low downside. Sorry, and that's the thing. The good profit potential was interesting. The project was not stupid, not clueless. So there's always a risk when you invest on something. But I've seen many investors say, I'm not willing to invest at the moment because Well, the upside potential is interesting. The downside risk is huge because we don't know how the SEC is going to behave. So the sad thing is that there are already many projects that are jeopardized, and we know about it. There are so many of them that we don't even know about that probably
Right.
that were stillborn because of a bad regulatory framework. So
Absolutely. And like, let's be real. Like 99% of tokens out there are crap,
yes,
right? Shitcoin is a term for a reason.
Yes.
However, if we have the SEC going and targeting legitimate companies and legitimate projects, that hurts the entire industry and also hurts just innovation and technology itself.
and that's counterproductive because, dude,
Really,
guys,
we
if you are
want this.
hungry, then
Yeah.
Please go hunt for the shitcoin makers. There are so
Sure.
many of them.
Yeah, yeah. I think we were talking about this. So it's like, okay, like we got scammed weekly, like we can talk about that. But like when you go after Ripple, a legitimate company, that's just a waste of not only our time but your time. Like they're not doing anything wrong.
Yeah, and even giving them a slap on the wrist is even that is counterproductive
Yeah.
because it also tells the honest small businesses who want to come to this industry that you have to be as tough as Ripple or the Ethereum Foundation in order to just
Right.
take that slap on the wrist. Even the slap on the wrist could kill a
Yeah, I
decent
mean, I don't
and
got $10
honest
million.
business that is too small to take the slap on the wrist. So that's also not very encouraging for all the people willing to go to this industry who are not multi-million-dollar companies or
Yeah.
sometimes billion-dollar companies.
Absolutely. And like honestly, like you just give us some guidelines and rules, we'll follow them, but it's a jungle out there right now because they won't.
It looks like that Monopoly game where basically, go to jail. Oh, no, after all, sorry, you have to throw the dice. Oh, no, sorry, now you have to play the cards. And so there's a queen and an ace on the map. What do we have cards now? Oh, and sorry, yes, the pawn also takes the queen. Sorry about that. And did you just change the rules again? And that's confusing for so many people, and that's mind-boggling. All right. Thank you so much for this episode, guys. Dear listeners, this was Real World Blockchain, the podcast sponsored by Web3 Enabler. And we have one big announcement to make this week because, as you guys know, Web3 Enabler is producing payment solutions and notably crypto payments, the payment app to get paid and pay in cryptocurrencies on Salesforce, the world's most popular CRM. And I believe we have a huge announcement to make. What is it about, guys?
Drum roll.
Blockchain payments.
All right. So now Web3 Enabler's name is Blockchain Payments. And we have a new version. And we have notably support for CoinGecko integration. And we have many other things. Check this out on the Salesforce App Exchange. Blockchain Payments new version is live. And if you haven't tried it, please give it a try. See you, everyone.